we see through that God did it, and God did a glorious, wonderful, great thing. Now, we see the darker part. But to understand the dark part, we have to understand the context. Verse 8, we see that that Isaac grew to some point to where he was weak. Probably somewhere around 2 to 3 years old. He's a toddler. And at this time, they had a big feast, a big celebration for him. Seemed to be a custom today, not exactly sure all the details of that, but it seemed to be a custom when the child was a toddler to have, after a child was weaned, that they would have a big celebration, a big party. Not the first birthday, but on the third. Sure, there were reasons for that. Some have speculated into that, don't know. Maybe it was because until the child was weaned, that he wasn't healthy enough, and they, whatever have you, this was a common thing to do. So Abraham and Sarah, they had a big feast, a big party with all their family, with all those who worked for them. Probably other people came, and they had this big, great party for a toddler. And we've been to birthday parties like that. We understand what was happening. But at the feast, we see Sarah noticed something in verse 9. Sarah, the son of Hagar, or saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had born to Abraham, scoffing. Other translations have laughing there. It's a different type of laughter than what we saw earlier. What exactly was Ishmael doing? We don't know for certain. He was either doing probably one of two things we can narrow it down to. He was either making fun of Isaac in some way, or some interpreted that the language it can be read that he was playing rough with them and maybe just outright being mean. Now, picture this. I think the setting's pretty easy to understand. You're at a birthday party. You're at a birthday party for a 3-year-old. He's this guest of honor. He's the star. The 16-year-old half-brother is making fun of his little brother. Now, we can understand these scenarios probably a little better than people could a generation ago, because unfortunately, people have sometimes made a mess of their lives, so we know what his, hers, and ours relationships can be. And God works through them, and we'll see, and God does a great, wonderful thing through them. But I grew up in a kind of an odd setting. You know, I have 11 half-brothers and sisters. Equal bloodline, 2 brothers named Matt, 2 brothers named Mark. I have 5 stepbrothers and sisters. Something like that. Sisters, something. A lot. It's kind of a mixed up jumble mess, but we love each other and have a good time. I've seen a lot of odd things. I tell you one thing I haven't seen. I haven't seen a birthday party, and I haven't been to a birthday party, where you have mom and dad, dad's mistress, and the child of that mistress all together at the same party. You talk about ready for fire. That's what you have here. This is the picture. Now, to make it go even crazier, you have the child of the mistress, who's there at the birthday party, making fun of the wife's younger son. And the mom, the wife, is up in years. Those of you who the Lord has given many years on this earth will probably attest to this. I've observed it. As we get older, we tend to get a little, and especially when we haven't been around young children for a while, we tend to get a little more of a protective, do we not? I'm more of a protective of babies now than when my kids were babies. It's by our nature. I know when we go to my in-laws, they get nervous when they see the kids go to do something that they do all the time, because it's out of their comfort zone. They wouldn't normally see it. Well, now you've got a 3-year-old with with a 93-year-old mom who has a 16-year-old brother who's not her child, who's picking on this child, or he's just downright being mean and nasty, and maybe going to hurt him. You got a time bomb waiting to explode, is exactly what you had happen here. Understandably so. Now, obviously, though, we learn from the text that Ishmael was being, even if he was coming across playing and scoffing and maybe laughing and teasing and poking fun at what big brothers do to little brothers. But, again, you got a 16-year-old, being mean to a 13-year-old, or to a 3-year-old. That's rough. You don't know exactly what he's doing. It angered her, and rightfully so. Even in our culture, we don't look kindly on a 16-year-old messing or beating up or just being mean to a toddler. So she perceived this as being nasty. She perceived this as he was going to hurt, Ishmael was going to hurt Isaac, and she wasn't going to be part of it. So she had a plan. And she had a plan to expel Hagar and Ishmael. This was a mess from the get-go. Now let's remember, why did the mess happen? Because Sarah and Abraham devised a plan earlier to do what they thought was God's plan their way. And look where it ended up. Now you have a family fractured. And when she, by the way, when she talks about Hagar, she lowers her status. She lowered her from a handmaid now to a slave. That's what bondwoman means. She was a handmaid. Now she's not a handmaid. Now she's a slave. Look, you're a slave. Look what she's doing. And now she says, look what your slave's son is doing. Now she doesn't acknowledge Ishmael. What a sad tragedy this was. Again, going back to their son. So Abraham is caught in the middle. In the middle of the mess, in the middle of his sin.